So you know what I've been telling you? I've been watching these guys for I don't know how long. Have some points to bring in, not talk over each other. These guys have good energy. I don't know what your problem has been lately, but maybe you can learn something. You might be the reason we don't have any subscribers.
Listen here, you son of a bitch. Don't you ever insult me again. I'm an OG Chorizo, bro. You got that?
Is everything cool, man?
Hey everybody!
Hey, what's up?
Welcome back to the Chorizo Bros. We have a very special episode for you today. Those of you that have been with the channel for a long time might notice that this is a second version of a Dolores Claiborne video that I did by myself very early on in the channell's history. But
we didn't want you to be alone this time.
That's what it was. I was really feeling alone. So I actually have a brand new Chorizo Bro joining us today, Aryan. This is one of those cases where everybody sitting at the table has both read the whole book and watched the movie. So we're going to kind of start it off the way we normally do. We'll do a quick 30-ish second review on, we'll start with the book, what our thoughts and feelings are on that, spoiler free. And then we'll talk about the movie a little bit after that. And then we're going to go full-on spoilers as though you've seen the movie and or read the book all the way through. So let's go ahead and get into it. Which one of you guys wants to start first?
I'll start.
Start us off. So
the book is great. It's good. Maybe it's good. Maybe it's not great. I listened to it via the audiobook.
Same.
And the actress who did the audiobook, I thought I was going to get really annoyed with her voice, but after a while, it grew on me. So I actually enjoyed her performance really throughout the whole, listening to the audiobook. But for me, what just bothered me most about the book is it's just the one person, just how it's written the whole time is just through the eyes of Dolores. And I thought that was really unique. I really enjoyed that. But after a while, it just kind of bothered me a little bit too much. So that's why I kind of think that it's a great story. All the characters are, really interesting. The storyline kind of has some good plot twists, and the imagery and the way that it's written is really fun, and it's not boring. There's definitely a lot of intrigue throughout the entirety of the book. But for me, it was a good book. I'd give it a solid 3 out of 5. 3 out of 5. As far as the movie goes,
that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Movie's about the same, if not a little bit less.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's actually a little shocking.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great movie. I think that I messed up because I watched the movie first before reading the book.
You should have done
I should have done the other way.
Yeah.
Because I was watching with my wife, and I was kind of already somewhat aware of a little bit of the story because I just started the audiobook.
Right.
So I was kind of familiar a little bit. But for me, the movie kind of felt really predictable. Mm-hmm. And so the book isn't kind of written that way to me. I think it's just more of just a recollection because you immediately find out a lot of crazy stuff in the book from the get-go. But in the movie, it's a little bit more like a mystery. And so I think that was cool, but I'd give the movie like a high 2.
Wow.
It wasn't that, yeah. I still enjoyed it, but it wasn't oh my god. So that's kind of how I feel.
I can totally see where you're coming from. The book, I really did enjoy the book. I liked the approach that Stephen King took with it, where it was just a straight first person, no chapters. It was literally just.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, it's not a chapter.
Oh, wow.
It was just a straight narrative from beginning to finish. I like that. I like that it took kind of I don't want to say a Tarantino-ish type of approach towards it, but it started out, Dolores even said it herself in the first person way that she's going to start in the middle and just work herself from the back going to the front. Or from the...
She says, I'm going to jump around.
Yeah, she's going to jump around a little bit.
I like that Tarantino analogy. That's cool.
Yeah. So that I really, really appreciate about the book. So the book, to me, I really enjoyed how it read out. It wasn't a super long read. It wasn't a super short read. It wasn't extremely detailed, but it gave you enough details to where it gave you the picture that we needed to see, to make a good book out of it. So I'd say a solid 4 for myself.
I was going to say 3.5 is what you're saying?
I'd say 4. I'd say 4 for myself on the 4 out of 5 on the book.
Yeah, I can see that.
On the book.
Yeah.
As far as the movie goes, I would probably go 3 out of 5. I agree with you exactly with the movie. I feel like the movie was very streamlined. Obviously, if you watch the movie compared to the book, there's noticeably a bunch of differences where obviously the book is first person, the movie is very, very third person. As you said, it's more like a mystery type of approach towards it. I think I brought it up to you before the podcast. The same director as Blood In, Blood Out is the same director as Dolores Claiborne. So there's definitely a...
We've talked about Blood In, Blood Out before.
Yeah. There's definitely
I put the air freshener right here.
There you go.
There you go.
So there's definitely... I'm drawing a blank on the director's name.
I don't know his name either. But.
There's definitely a Hollywood approach towards the movie.
Yeah.
Movie, I would probably give it 3 out of 5. Or a 2.5 out of 5.
Wow.
Most definitely.
I'm the outlier on this.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm not saying that the movie is terrible by any means. I think the movie is definitely enjoyable, but I don't think it does any justice towards the book.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think maybe when we do ratings out of 5, it's kind of harsher. I feel like if we did like a 10, it would... Out of 10,
out of 10, maybe, probably you're right. I'll give it a 6.5 out of a 10.
Yeah, that
there you go.
kind of like,
and then that gives it more exactly. There you go. There you go.
Yeah, I guess you're right. It does make it sound like it's much better or much worse.
Because like a 2 sounds bad.
Because if you say 3, that's actually a positive.
Right.
Yeah.
5. But if
Right.
you say
So
like,
it's not bad. No, the movie is still enjoyable. It's still an entertaining watch. It just doesn't do, in my opinion, justice to the book because they're too different. They're vastly different.
Sure, for sure.
Vastly different.
So what did you? I'm curious. You're like, oh, it's a fucking 5.
No,
5.
no, I'm not gonna go wild like that. But I might say something a little bit surprising. So, book. I'm gonna agree with you on the fact that because you said you did the audiobook, right?
Correct.
The way that I can imagine, because I didn't listen to any of it, the way that I see the performances being on this one is
It's one chick.
probably it was probably almost exactly written the way the book or spoken the way the book is written, because he writes it in that dialect, like he misspells and makes words written as though they're talking in that accent. The whole book.
I'd say so. Yes.
Yeah. So wait, did you read any? Did you actually like read it?
No, but I'm kind of curious now.
Yeah. It's written like that. And that was a big hump for me to get over, at least at first, and then I kind of got used to it. So I don't know if you're familiar with H.P. Lovecraft's writing. What'll happen is he might write a character that is like a drunkard or whatever that wanders onto the scene and he's like blubbering drunk. The dialogue is written like messed up like that.
Yeah, like even here's an example. Like instead of saying "but I keep" like K-E-E-P, it's K-E-P.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like part of the accent of what...
It's written in the accent.
I see.
The whole book's like that.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
It's written like Dolores is speaking.
Yeah. Which is cool because it's very much. It does make you feel more like it's her story a little bit more because it really does feel like her and not just a retelling of her story or whatever. Anyway, that was like my only kind of thing on it. It's fast paced. It's sad. It's bleak, and I think that's why I'm going to give it a little bit higher. I'm going to say this is like a 4.5 maybe on the movie. The book, I'll say it's a 3 on the movie.
On
the movie, I'm going to say it's high.
I'm surprised.
This is
I'm shocked.
I'm surprised to hear that.
This is
Yeah,
probably my favorite Stephen King adaptation.
As a movie,
Yeah,
better than Running Man.
yeah,
No.
I like it better.
That's crazy.
But
wow.
But okay, to defend myself or like explain it a little bit, I like bleak stories. One of my favorite movies of all time is Elephant Man, and that's like a really sad movie.
I can buy that. Okay.
Yeah.
So, like,
this just hits you. This is your flavor, you know. Like this is
This like hit, and you know the stuff that happens is really sad and whatever, but there is sort of a hint of hope in it. But it is sort of like it's misery. It's like real misery.
Yeah, and there's a lot of realism in this. Almost.
Yeah, and I like that.
Almost just.
I like that it's a difference of what Stephen King normally does. This is the horror of...
As I just mentioned, I said Running Man earlier, where that's kind of like a fake... That's
Yeah.
not going to happen.
Right.
Maybe it is happening, maybe it's not happening. Who knows? But you know what I'm saying.
Yes. This is realistic.
No, obviously, like we kind of touched upon this a little bit earlier too. The trilogy of books that he did on the female abuse in small town. What's little town island? What's the They're in Maine.
They're
They're
in Maine.
It's King, somewhere in Maine.
They're in Maine, right? So they're secluded. It's small town, but there's 3 books that they do. It's Dolores Claiborne, it's Gerald's Game, and it's I draw
Rose Matter.
Rose Matter, yeah, where it's these 3 women are all bound together by, and we're probably going to talk about later. We're going to talk about later, obviously, the solar eclipse and how these women are drawn together by domestic abuse and trauma, right?
Well, yeah, you have. So, Jeremy hasn't seen or read Gerald's Game yet.
Okay.
But this book and movie is linked with Gerald's Game. I highlighted the page where it's mentioned that he mentions the character from Gerald's Game because an event happens in Dolores Claiborne and Gerald's Game during the eclipse, which is why I have those glasses up there.
I see. Okay.
But she sort of like they feel each other, like psychically, which you could argue because Stephen King's work is always sort of connected.
I read the audiobook too, or I listened to the audiobook too, and you feel it in the audiobook because when she goes into the mentioning of the solar eclipse, there's the weird tritone that hits on the audio.
Yes.
And she mentions talking to...
Or like sensing...
Yeah, she's like, and there's that girl, Jessie, that I seen in the skirt, and blah, 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 that I've seen grow up. And she mentions her 2 to 3 times throughout the book. Mm-hmm. And every time she mentions it's that gnarly,
that
weird
so much
tritone,
sense.
that eerie
it was
tritone.
Really eerie.
It's eerie. When you listen to it, it just hits out of nowhere. Okay, the audiobook's a 5 out of 5. If you're into audiobooks,
I'm not, but
if you're into audiobooks,
I would.
The
I would
audiobook
be
is a 5 out of 5.
Yeah, because there was
the
a lot of
audiobook
audiobooks
the audiobook makes the book way better. The actress that does the narration kills it 100%.
She's the. It's kind of interesting because it nods to Stephen King here. She is the actress of the old lady in The Mist. So.
Oh, the one that uses this hairspray to light the monster on fire.
That's
she's the wife of the sheriff in Misery. That actress is doing the audiobook?
That actress does
That's
the audiobook.
fucking sick.
Okay.
Dude.
Alright, 5 out of 5. I didn't even listen to it, but that's dope. That's fucking cool.
So that's what makes the... Okay. Enough said.
Yeah, that's good.
So
cool. I'm down with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm down as fuck.
Awesome, dude. Yeah. But...
Yeah, that tritone that you're talking about, it is really eerie, and I didn't realize that. So, like, whenever she's talking about this person that she's seeing, when I was reading the book, I was like...
reference.
I didn't know that. And so I was just thinking,
who's this young girl?
Yeah, I was like, okay, so she's envisioning Selena right now.
Right, that's what you would think.
But it just wasn't quite matching up with what she was seeing versus kind of what I thought she would have been feeling about envisioning Selena kind of like in the future, or because I think in the book
another
she talks
event of it or something,
right?
Yeah.
And it kind of did. So that's really interesting. I'm excited to kind of get into Gerald's Game and kind of see like how that interacts with it. So for those of you who haven't read Gerald's Game, I think that's a good nod to kind of check it out because it probably makes
if you read this one, this is an easy jump over to read Gerald's Game. Do you know what the concept of it is?
You've told me like
it's
basically a woman gets a woman gets trapped while she's having sexual
they're doing like they're playing where she's like in handcuffs on the bed, and then her partner
dies or something,
has a heart attack, and then she's stuck there. So it's her like trying to figure out how to get out of it.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's actually legit. It's a pretty cool like little thriller story, and again, they're the same thickness. It's like
knock that out.
They're pretty quick.
It's a pretty quick read. Yeah.
It's quick.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're kind of connected. But whatever. We're not here to talk about Gerald's Game. We're here to talk about Dolores. So I think you had some questions and some interesting notes. You came really prepared. I was not shocked, but I'm like happy because I always like it whenever we do a little research and have some questions and stuff to talk about. So what you got for us?
First question I'd like to discuss is: do you guys think Dolores' involvement in Joe's killing, do you think it's justified as self-defense or it's an unforgivable crime?
Oh man, that's a great question. I'll let you go first because I got to think about it.
I know that's a pretty loaded question to drop on because like that's obviously a question to think about because that's what the thick of the book is about, right?
As a father, I would say it is justified.
I would say so too. I obviously as just like a decent human being, right?
Right. But
Because we know that if you read the book, you know who Joe is. He's just kind of a shitty human being. He's just
He's
like
the fucking worst.
He's the worst, dude. But it's another question I want to ask later on. That kind of alludes towards it. They live in like bumfuck America. They live in like small town Maine America, where
they live in some like island. Yeah,
they live in like legitimately. So like Joe's behavior is kind of like accepted to a certain extent. It's
you get the vibe that everybody in town is kind of
it's kind of the norm. So like
yeah,
it's small town bumfuck. It's I go to work, I come home, like give me what I need, a drink, and my wife's a piece of shit, and I'm gonna like rub up on my daughter.
Well, it's not even that. It's not even just that he drinks.
It's so fucking weird, man.
It's that he lies about going to AA.
Oh,
that's like another layer of it, where he's not just that. It's not just that he drinks. It's that he still drinks, but like pretends like he's still in the program. It does. I remember. I think I marked it in there. Yeah. There's a couple of allusions to it. I don't think that she should get in as much trouble, but she definitely should not have killed. I don't know. It's tough.
Does she actually kill him though?
Yeah, I would say so. She kind of explains that she like planned it out. It's hard to argue when you plan it out. If she had her lawyer and the lawyer was like, don't talk to the cops, don't say anything, he would have definitely been like, don't fucking say that you planned this.
I think that's where the beauty of this book is. Like, does she act? So that's like the first question we got to ask. Like, does she really actually murder her husband?
I mean, I would consider it. Yeah. I mean,
he fell down the well, but she neglected him while he was in the well.
Yeah, she was letting him.
Well, she bashed him.
But she bashed him with a rock. So. Right?
What, to ease his suffering? No, dude.
I think it's attempted murder. It's attempted murder.
It's not. He died. It was actual murder. It's not attempted.
Which circles back to when Vera falls down the stairs and she's got the pin.
Yeah, the rolling pin. Yeah,
and she's got to make the final decision, right?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So it's like,
well, that would have been easier to. Had she not had the past of what happened with her husband, it would have been easier to argue. I definitely did not do anything to Vera. It would have been easier to argue. I don't know.
I can see it both ways. I mean, a crime is a crime. Like, if you look at our justice system and how flawed it is, a crime is a crime. So, yes, if she was found out that she was planning it and everything, that's a crime. She should be put away. But from like you said, from human to human, what he was doing and what he was potentially going to do.
He was only going to get. It seems like he was only going to get worse and worse with his actions because he knew that he could get away with getting worse and worse with his actions because of the living situation that they were in and like where they lived at, and it was like socially acceptable to be like that.
But now I'm kind of thinking like maybe she could have easily just gone and left. You know?
Well, no, because he stole their money.
He did. He did.
Here's the thing.
He did.
He did.
And that's another reason why. That's like the main reason that drove her to. That was like the thing that drove her over the top.
But for me, like you just figured
her that money was him stealing that money, right?
I think you're right. I think that he definitely would have done much worse, much more like horrible things. But if Dolores hadn't stepped up, because she confronts him and she's like, "You're never gonna touch my daughter again," and and then she would keep checking. She'd be like, "Is your daddy misbehaving?" And she's like, "No, it's okay."
She was groomed.
It shows her.
She was groomed.
To
forget.
Right, and then it was pretty astute of King himself to write Selena to be this character that once this happens, she like. Dolores notices her behavior and notices it more not just as angst of a teenager, but something else. She could tell it's not just that. She's like, there's something seriously going on with her personality. And then she goes and she's like, oh, were you really studying after school? And then she actually goes and visits to see if she's there. And she's like, am I going to find her smoking joints or like doing something else? And she's like, no, she's just...
It's like she's
just alone. No, there's this different part. But
she was just there.
But she was just going to study hall. She was just taking the last ferry out. and spending all day at school because she didn't want to be around her dad.
Which is kind of crazy because that's
And wearing
kinda
different
weird.
clothes, wearing long sleeves and baggy clothes to not show her figure off because it was going to get the father's attention. So Dolores was, first off, that seems very realistic of King to know that like that's how a 14-year-old young lady would act and something like this happened to her, and then to write a mom figuring it out. Like, he hit some deep shit in this.
I think so. And that's where I think Dolores is justifiable in her means in what she was doing. Right?
I wouldn't send her to jail.
I don't know.
Like, if it were up to me, I wouldn't send her to jail. But I wouldn't act like she didn't do it.
In today's climate, today's like political, social climate, would Dolores Claiborne be like convicted of murder or not? I don't think she would be.
No, she'd get manslaughter.
You think so?
Yeah. Because
I don't know enough about the justice system to make a claim on it, but
well, because well, it depends. If we're going by her confession, she confesses all the way. So she's like, I definitely fucking did it. She's in trouble just from that. But but how would her lawyer like try to talk out of it to get her a lesser sentence? Because it's the whole point of a defense attorney. It's not even necessarily to be like, they didn't do this. That's not how they work in every case. Sometimes they're like, yeah, they did do it, but here's what was going on mentally with them. You know, here's how they weren't fully responsible for it. Mm-hmm. So instead of getting first-degree murder, which would be you need a motive, they need to find a weapon, they need to find this, there's stipulations to getting first degree, and then your punishment will be based on if you get convicted for that, right? So she would probably get manslaughter because you could argue that it wasn't some sort of self-defense. That there is a pattern of him abusing her and she reacted the way she did. She would get... So, yeah, it is killing somebody, but it's kind of, you can argue that he was chasing her and whatever. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning more toward the fact that she could have just left. I know it's all the money was a factor, but you figure it out. As a parent, you just like, okay, we don't have any money. Vera, here's the situation.
So is her leaving? Not okay. She never left Joe directly. She worked for Vera, and she was like she's like Vera's only long-term worker, right? Vera fired a lot of people, right? Mm. The only person that she really kept was Dolores, right? Was Dolores' escape Vera while being with Joe?
Yeah, maybe.
It has to be.
People put themselves in work to escape stuff.
That was a question.
That's what Selena did.
I was going to segue into that in my next question. Is like Dolores and Vera are different on the economic scale, but what ties them to the hip? Honestly, like if you
they both kill their husbands.
The fact that Vera justifies being she says it herself, being an absolute bitch. Yeah.
Sometimes the lady's got to be a bitch to survive. She says in a line like that, right?
She absolutely 100% mentions it. So what ties them to the hip? Like, why does Dolores stick with Vera this whole time, even though they're so opposite on the economic scales? You have one lady that's poor as shit and is, like, saving the money that Vera pays her, which is expendable money to Vera, like, to save up for kids that get stolen from Joe, which turns into a conflict at the end, right? Like, what ties these two to the hip? Dolores doesn't need to be with Vera. Vera doesn't need to be with Dolores. What keeps them together?
I think they kind of have the same makeup. Like
they're on the different economic scales, but yeah.
There's,
they both have shitty men that.
Maybe it's that, but I think even just they're just very similar. Like when you read the book in the very beginning, you already get the idea that Dolores is kind of like this sassy, really quick, off the cusp, like makes these comments. She acts exactly like Vera. They're
the same
one
person,
of the same.
Right?
Yeah.
They're the same.
They're the exact same person.
Yeah.
And so,
but just different economic scales.
Right? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so, it's really fun because I think in the movie they make it a little bit more. No, I think in the book they make it more clear. In the movie they did because Selena's like they loved each other. That was like a big thing. I actually didn't really like that about the movie. I thought that was kind of cheesy, but that was what was kind of brought them two together, and you're supposed to make it feel like, oh, they're, you know, they're like sisters, or they're like mother-daughter type relationship, and so, you know.
Well, part of that was that Vera trusted Dolores enough to mention, well, maybe your husband has an accident. So she confided in her enough.
In her deepest, darkest secret.
Her deepest, darkest secret to be like, well, maybe you could do something like what I did. So that's why whenever she starts going through her dementia or what, I don't know if they make it clear what Vera has when she's losing weight or gaining weight or whatever it is. I think she's skinnier in the book, but in she shits on herself. Yeah. So there's this like protection too, even though she hates that it's happening. She does have this sort of like, well,
the dust bunnies
talking to Vera helped me make that decision. And she knows that I did it, and I know that she did something. So they're sort of sharing this. They got this shared like trauma. They like trauma bond a little bit.
You know what's interesting is like she confided in Dolores to share that, right?
Yeah.
But she fails to tell Dolores the truth about her kids.
That's until the very end, which is so fucked up, man.
Yeah. So why is that from like a character standpoint? Like, and it makes me think that like, the shared trauma specifically about, because that's two traumas, but I feel like the shared trauma specifically about your husband is something that is you almost yearn to share that with another person who's going through that.
Because she trusted her.
Was that presented in the movie about her kids?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so at all. I
don't think so.
It was just in the.
It would shock me if it is in the movie.
I forgot. I forget, but yeah, I definitely remember that in the book where
they already added a lot.
The telling nature of her kids, how they were both killed in a car accident or some shit.
Right. Yeah. And you know what? When I was reading it, I thought that Vera had cut the brakes off that car, and it resulted in all of the family being killed. That's what I thought, but that's not it, right?
No, I don't think that's what it is.
Okay, no. I didn't think so either. But when I was reading it, I was like, wait, did that?
She wouldn't have had any pride saying it to Dolores if that were the case.
Yeah,
she wouldn't have been like, I killed my kids also.
Right.
She wouldn't have had the sort of triumphant vibe that she has.
Right, about
if her kids
her
died.
husband.
So I don't know, because again, it's the wording, the way she chooses to tell the story. It's sometimes I get confused with some of the details, but yeah, I don't think so. I don't think her kids died with the husband. What do you think the eclipse represents? Because it's clear that it means something.
If I were to...
some notes on this.
Yes, I mean...
Old myths, they view eclipses as symbols of transformation and harbingers of danger, right?
Mm-hmm. So it's an omen, yeah.
Yeah. Some myths have beasts swallowing the sun and threatening human life. So simultaneously being dangerous and redeeming at the same time, right? Think about it. That eclipse is simultaneously dangerous and redeeming at the same time for Dolores and for her psychic connection to Jesse all at the same time. It's a harbinger of danger because she's killing Joe while it's happening. Redeeming because she's seeing another character at the same time through a psychic connection happening.
The Shining.
Oh, fuck. Don't even go there.
Dang.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Damn.
Is that confirmed?
No, but come on.
It is. It totally is.
Come on. There's no way it's not The Shining.
Yeah, dude.
Because that's how Danny gets it. Through child abuse.
Oh man. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's redeeming because she's seeing herself and an empathetic figure in Jesse going through the same shit that Selena has been going through and justifying what she's doing right now.
Yeah.
So the eclipse is like
death and rebirth, or like
it's
weird.
It's everything.
Yeah.
To Dolores, it's the backbone of what I think it's the backbone of what the book is about.
The theme,
honestly.
yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, for me, I think
I was just gonna say something stupid like, well,
there's
Stephen
also
King just needed a reason to have Dolores, have everybody distracted on the island. That's what.
Plot-wise, yeah.
Dude, Vera
yeah, plot-wise, it's very smart to do that.
Vera sets up a huge event for it.
Yeah.
Like it's obviously like Vera, like why is Vera setting up a huge event for it? It's obviously meant to be this extravagant thing, and it's now that we know that it's brought up in Gerald's game and The other book, what is it?
I don't know if it's in Rose Matter. I can't confirm that. I haven't read it, but I know that that's part of the Abuse trilogy.
It's part of it, yeah.
Yeah.
The Abuse trilogy, and it's.
I think what I kind of try to think of the Eclipse as is a secret that's out in the open. It's a shadow. It's like the hidden thing during the day. It's like it's coming out during the day. It's something that you keep hidden. It's your family secret or whatever, but it's being exposed.
Dark coming into light.
Right. The physical moon going in front of the sun, it's like, this is the thing that we keep hidden normally, and here it is out in the open. Here's my confession of this. Here's me talking to my daughter about what happened to her. Here's me, Vera and I sharing this secret of hers. It's out in the open. I'm the only person she told about this. I'm telling you guys now. I feel like that's kind of it. In a way, maybe is supposed to represent something that's normally hidden being out.
Man, you guys are so profound, bro.
No. This doesn't get enough credit. I don't think.
No, it doesn't, because there's.
Okay, that's funny you said that. With that being said, so I took some notes on what this did in the box office, movie wise.
Yeah. Let's talk about that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I'm sure it didn't do too well.
That's funny you say that. So it's a Stephen King book with Kathy Bates in it, right?
Yeah.
Stephen King book with Kathy Bates in it. We all think of Misery.
Yeah.
Right.
Did Misery come out before this or after?
Yeah.
Misery came out before this.
Oh, so this probably did pretty well then.
So Misery was like a 91 release in the box office. What do you think Misery did in the box office?
Oh god, I wouldn't even know. Maybe I don't know, 8 million?
61 million.
61 million?
61 million in the box office is what Misery did, right? And that came out in like 1991, and that was like critics loved it, did very well. Dolores Claiborne comes out. It's also Kathy Bates. It's another Stephen King adaptation. What do you think Dolores Claiborne did in the box office?
I don't know, 90, 100?
Did 46.4 million.
Jeez.
46.4. So not as good, but not as much of a.
It wasn't
budget.
as much of a flop either.
It wasn't much of a flop, so it was kind of like a sleeper hit, kind of like a cult favorite, kind of in that range. Dude,
I bet you it has something to do with the trailer, because I feel like
it's a grainy film if you watch it.
Yeah, I feel like the Misery probably lends itself to a really good trailer that perhaps Dolores Claiborne didn't.
True that.
You know.
In comparison, around that same time, I was telling Joseph as well, Shawshank Redemption did 75 million in 94. But Shawshank was considered a box office failure for its expectations.
Right.
Misery, for its expectations, did very, very well. Dolores Claiborne, for its expectations, was a sleeper hit. I just find that interesting.
No one talks about this movie.
No, dude, no one does. And if you bring it up, if you talk about Misery, everyone knows about Misery.
Yeah. Even if you only know the iconic shot of him breaking the legs.
Legitimately, right? Everyone, even if they've never even seen the movie, you're like, the Stephen King movie with Kathy Bates in it.
Kathy Bates is a crazy bitch.
Yeah. Exactly. But then you bring up Dolores Claiborne, and I'm like, man, no. Even my brother, who's older than me, my older brother, 6 years older than me, has definitely heard of the movie, remember seeing the trailer, never watched it. So it's like one of the it seemed like it was like a pass-off movie in the 90s.
I think part of that whatever. Is the fact that
if it came on TV, I'd watch it, but if it didn't, whatever, fuck it.
It's clearly not horror. That's sort of where I'm at on this. You could argue that Misery was a thriller, and it's about a different type of horror. It's not like classical monster, supernatural, whatever. But this one is for sure not that. This is. There's not a horror element to this.
What genre would you put that movie in?
Which one? This Dolores?
Yeah,
I'd say
mystery.
I would call it family drama.
Family drama. Yeah,
very
like good.
Crime. I mean, I think the whole police aspect was kind of hit pretty heavily on this.
Yeah, that might just be the.
That was one other thing I didn't really like about the movie.
That might just be the I don't know, the layout of the story.
Yeah, like the outline. You kind of have to have like good versus evil type thing, and so the police was that evil that kind of held the whole movie in line with your.
Oh, we're talking about the movie or the book?
I'm talking about the movie.
Yeah, there's too much of it.
Yeah, I did not.
I would agree. They could have taken that out.
Yeah.
There are a couple of other Stephen King references.
Yeah, like you brought up Shawshank just now, and that was.
She does say, "I'll send you to Shawshank."
Right.
In the first page, I told your wife would give you merry hell about buying that day old bread. Pennywise and pound foolish.
Oh,
Pennywise
dang.
the clown.
Jeez.
Let's see. I'm just gonna kind of read some random stuff. Oh, one of the big differences of the book to movie was the fact that she has brothers.
They're siblings.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So that's not in there.
And Peter and something else. Yeah.
And little Joe. Peter and little Joe.
Peter. That's
yeah.
we were
Peter
talking
and
about it
Little Joe.
earlier. And we're like,
Okay.
who's the other one? It's Peter and there's like Junior and there's
Baby
Peter.
Joe or whatever.
Yeah.
And
one of them is like super celebrated, and the other one's just like.
Yeah.
Piece of shit dad. I almost told him Gary Cooper could have been sitting in the corner with Rita Hayworth, and I wouldn't have known it. Rita Hayworth in Shawshank Redemption is why.
Oh, nice. Did she mention that Overlook?
She does. Oh, maybe? No, I think that's in Misery. In Misery, she mentions the Overlook. Oh, the Overlook's like 3 miles from here or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. They always do that. Yeah, they always do that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't though. After that, you'll most likely be in Shawshank.
I didn't realize because I'm not an avid reader, but I didn't realize that authors, and I'm sure
Reference their own stuff.
they would reference their own stuff.
Well,
like
Stephen
that.
King's does it a lot.
See, yeah, he's got his own universe, man.
Yeah. I took one of the reflector boxes from the bag, held it out the way Vered showed me about 100 times in the last week or so, and when I did, I had the funniest thought. That little girl is doing this too. The one who's sitting in her father's lap, she's doing this very same thing.
No.
Yeah.
No, I'm telling that hits right there.
Yeah,
And
that's
then
when the
audiobook,
tone comes in.
That's
yeah.
when the tone comes in, dude. Yeah, when she said, "Oh, dude, it's so creepy when that hits too."
It is.
I love this line. Except in the next second or two, I wasn't just thinking of her. I was seeing her. The way you see people in dreams, or the way I guess the Old Testament prophets must have seen things in their visions. A little girl, maybe 10 years old, with her own reflector box in her hands. She was wearing a short dress with red and yellow stripes. Yeah. So that lines like that, you could. I think it's The Shining. I think you could argue it's The Shining because that psychic power exists in a lot of his books.
Oh yeah.
But listen to me, all three of you, and hear this if you don't hear nothing else. Everything I did for love. The love a natural mother feels for her children. That's the strongest love there is in the world, and it's the deadliest. There's no bitch on earth like a mother frightened for her kids.
Dang.
That's nice. That's a good King line, man. For what this story is. It's a good King line.
Fuck yeah, it is. And it justifies, in my eyes, what Dolores does throughout the whole book.
And the way that, in the movie at least, how Selena is kind of just very negative toward her mother, as a parent, it kind of freaks me out a little bit. Because just that from that line that you read, you really get the idea that Dolores Claiborne does any and everything to protect her children. And even still, when you do that as a parent, there is still the likelihood of your kids just ultimately hating your guts.
Or not
Or
appreciating
not understanding.
it.
Or not appreciating. And I get little glimpses of that as a parent now, and it's scary, man. It's so hard.
So, with that being said, a question I have from this book that I put on my notes here.
Oh, shit.
What you just said.
Dude, you're going to hit me with a big one.
Is living in a state of denial beneficial in a way of preserving one's mental health?
No.
It definitely didn't preserve her mental health. She was going through it. She was an addict. She was taking pills. She was a drunk, following in her father's footsteps in a way.
Yeah,
but also you get the vibe that she's protecting herself,
Mm-hmm.
feeling the pain and then using that to dull it. So definitely not beneficial.
Was it beneficial to Vera living in a state of denial about her kids and her husband?
Well, Jeez.
She seemed to have a better handle on it.
It seemed like Dolores throughout her whole time before approaching these police officers living in a state of denial too.
Well, I think also age
Yeah.
is a thing.
Yeah.
So like I think as a kid, it's important for you to kind of open up and let those and don't let yourself become in denial because it does bring on, you know, depression and, you know,
PTSD
and all this. But when Vera, she was already in her probably 60s or 70s. So.
She keeps her kids' memories alive through fantasy. Think about it. Like there's
but could you argue that that's a form of expressing
that's her state of
emotion.
denial. Like, and Dolores did not know that until the very end when she got her entitlement, I guess you can say.
Yeah. But I'm kind of curious if like a person doing that is that them not being in denial with that's them being in denial with everyone, but maybe not with themselves, because she knows that her kids are dead, but that's probably like a defense mechanism for her.
No, for sure.
To like cope with it and let it be out in the open with herself as opposed to with other people. You know, that's just how I would kind of think somebody going through that.
I don't know how this fits in, but I was trying to like find out if the fear of dust bunnies had something to do with that.
Oh, dude, the fear of dust bunnies plays a
like what exactly?
So weird how that plays throughout this book, man.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't. They don't do it in the movie, but in the book, the cleanliness and the dust bunnies.
It's weird. It's so weird.
Have like a huge.
I think there's a minor part of it in the movie, but in the book, it is like.
Well, it's more so in the movie.
It's what draws her out of her chair, right? To fall. I think it's legitimate what draws her out of her wheelchair.
Oh yeah.
To take a tumble, right?
Well, like because it's.
I'm taking a tumble.
Because. I don't know if it's supposed to be like clean, like when people have like OCD and stuff. Something about that action is it's like it's like
4.
It's like self-soothing.
But in the movie, it's 6 pins, not 5.
Yeah.
No, I'm just joking.
But it's like self-soothing. It's like a thing that, you know, people pick to like make themselves feel better.
Like maybe their whole life is not in control, but they can control.
That's what makes them feel like they have some bit of control. Yeah. I don't know. Because I was like, dust bunnies. I was like, why would that be? I was like, is that scary? In your head, it's not. If they were trying to do that in the movie, that would have not been scary.
It wouldn't have. But they did describe it. I remember feeling like scared.
Like, yeah, you could see why she's freaked out about it.
Yeah. You could feel Vera's fear.
It's like that feeling of not being in control, like overwhelming you. Of I can't. This is the one thing I'm trying to control, and it's not working.
Right.
I don't know. It's hard to say. I almost. This is maybe controversial because I sometimes think Stephen King has word vomit. He just has so much when he writes. It is like too long. So this is like streamlined, but I wanted a little bit more fleshed out. I wanted to maybe to jump to another character or something. I would have liked to have seen these characters really intrigue me.
Yeah, you know, I do give credit to the movie because I remember watching even like the first couple scenes and the dynamic between Selena and her mom was super interesting.
That. Yeah.
Was super, and I even told my wife, I was like, man, if I was an actress, I would have loved to have played either Dolores or Selena because especially Selena, I feel like the character Selena is super, super interesting. They don't dive deep into.
Oh fuck, what's her name?
Jennifer Jason Leigh.
Yes.
Am I getting that right?
I think you're right.
Yeah, definitely her. Yeah.
I like her.
She did phenomenal. And you're right because they don't really explore that too much in the book.
Killer.
John C. Reilly.
Awesome.
What a random addition.
The bad guy from Under Siege 2. Awesome.
You know who John C. Reilly is? He's like a comedic actor, and he plays
Frank, isn't it?
He's in Step Brothers.
He plays Frank.
I don't remember if his name's Frank yet, but
he plays like the cop.
One of the cops.
Yeah. It was kind of like a what?
Yeah, what the fuck are you doing here?
Right.
Like,
but I feel you on that because although I kind of gave the book a 3, it was still a good book, but. I do feel that it could have been fleshed out more with that relationship between Selena
I like that in the
there
movie.
wasn't really that in the book at all.
I think that's why it's probably my favorite adaptation because like the Shining movie, we could argue is like a much better movie, but it's not. It's nothing like the book at all.
Well, neither is this.
It's pretty close. This is very close. 'Cause all the things that happen in the book.
No way. There's no.
Man, I think the movie and the book is way different, dude.
I don't know that
so.
it's that different. I think all the main parts.
Okay.
The main parts, yes, sure.
They flush it out for the sake of it being a
presented
movie.
so differently, dude. Like the movie is so streamlined, whereas the book is like so first.
Yeah, I guess more so plot wise, it's the same.
Okay. Imagine if they did a movie straight up like they did the book. Could you imagine? We talked about this.
I don't think it would work. I don't think it would work.
Yeah, it definitely wouldn't work.
Could you imagine if they just started out where, like, Kathy Bates just walk into a police station and just talk to two police officers, a male, and a chick stenographer, and just Tarantino from there, and just like...
Yeah.
I think they did attempt that a little.
That'd be like a 4-hour movie, dude.
Yeah, oh yeah. One thing I did really like about the movie, which I haven't seen...
It'd be way different.
I'm more so saying, like, the concept of them thinking, like,
How-
Vera,
how-
she
how
was going to
the-
kill Vera, and she's like, no, but I will confess to this. That's in there. The stuff that happens with Selena and her father, that's in there. The abuse that the father does to Dolores, that's in there. The stealing of the money, that's in there.
Of course.
The stuff that happened, like their confrontation they have on the
points are
ferry.
there.
All the stuff is like, all the main things
All the main things are in there.
for the plot are the same. That's what I'm saying.
Okay,
Okay.
I feel you on that.
Yes,
But-
it is fleshed
but-
out. There's a lot more added, but
you don't have the
But
mention,
if you take-
don't have the mention of the siblings. You don't have the mention. Okay.
that actually works better for the movie.
Do you think so?
Yes,
Yeah,
I think it's
I
more
think so,
a more
'cause there's no,
interesting story with the brothers there.
Dolores only having one child is better for the movie. Do you think so?
Well,
if the point is that it's an emotional journey for
I think it adds
Selena,
to the story. I think it adds to the
then
story that
you only
there's
need
more-
to have Selena's on there.
but as a filmmaker, what you have to think about is because you can't make it like exactly it, right? It's impossible. There's just so much detail in there.
for sure.
So I think from a overall, character arcs that you can with a 2.5-hour film, you can't do a whole character arc with Peter with Little Joe as you'd want to,
Right,
and
right.
they only have
they
so
could
much
have added
time.
one though. They could have legitimately added one of those guys in there.
Yeah, I mean, I think Selena is to represent the.
Making Selena only child, I think it doesn't take away from it, but they could have added one of the other siblings at least.
I don't disagree, but
to add to the dynamic of that family.
it's
what
not
that-
taking
what
off
that
any
family
points
was.
though.
Yeah.
Like in the book, it was either I forget which one of the siblings it was, but and again, this is another thing we discussed. One of the siblings very much lauded and revered his father,
Yeah,
and the
that's
other
an interesting.
and
That
the
was
other
really
and
interesting.
the other brother was like, I fucking hate this guy.
Yeah.
So I felt like the movie could have at least added that character dynamic into the plot.
Yeah, but it was
One of those character aspects.
Yeah.
Hey, we have a
Didn't you
sibling-
Didn't you say that you felt like the movie dragged a little bit?
the movie did drag a little?
Okay, well then there you go. Imagine had you added that other element in there, you would have felt it would have been longer.
Yeah, but in a better way though.
Did you read Misery?
I didn't read Misery. No.
Okay, so we talked about this on our Misery podcast. You read and watched the movie,
I
right?
read it, yeah.
So, Misery, the book, is only like this, only taking place through the writer's perspective. So he doesn't know what's going on outside of the room he's in. So in the movie, they expand on the sheriff and the sheriff's wife, what's going on in the town, when they see Kathy Bates riding into town to go get the typewriter or whatever she's getting sent out there to do. Everybody thinks she's this weirdo and whatever. None of that happens in the book. It is strictly what he sees and what is happening. Yeah. It's just his perspective. I would argue that it's still, I would argue the same thing. I would say that aside from some, the mallet is actually a hatchet or whatever, aside from, little details like that, the plot's pretty much the same.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
From the book to the movie. So I'm saying this is a pretty spot on. Because aside from just things that are fleshing it out for the movie's sake,
I think
it's the same story.
They
I
hit
think
the same story, but it's just presented in just a way different way, man.
I think because it's like you kind of mentioned earlier, like it's Hollywood up a little bit. Like it's done in a way to where it has to be like, okay, this is a mystery. It's not written as a mystery. We're making it a mystery, or this is a family drama. The book doesn't. There's family drama in it, but it's from that first person
perspective.
So it's like it's not like an ensemble type cast where you need that for film. So I get what you're saying, but we're just saying that like because it has that stylized aspect of a film, that's why it is so glaringly different and vastly different.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you guys. It is there is a lot like the siblings and the what's going on with the police and whatever. How all that's being told is a lot different. But I'm just more so saying that the whole point of the story is, you know, the trauma bonding and what happens, you know, a relationship with Vera and all that stuff. And all that stuff is exactly the same.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So I'm kind of like, that's kind of where I'm saying like, it's pretty spot on. Yeah, I don't know. It's just an opinion.
I think the movie,
like, compare it to other fucking Stephen King ones. They're all so different than the book.
Totally.
And I've gone through a lot of them.
Totally.
So
I think the way they handle Vera and Dolores' relationship and how they link up and why they still maintain a relationship even though they're so different, I think the movie does a really good job with the book on that. Okay, the movie really antagonizes Dolores.
Yeah, they amp that up a lot.
A lot. Whereas in the book, you don't get that sense. Not as much. You don't really feel. You don't
feel that at all.
Okay.
They're not very clear in the book that like the town is against her because of what.
Man, in the movie, it's clear as night and day. You have people driving up to her house and just. I mean, when she goes up to her house to post up, it's vandalized.
Here's that bitch that killed her husband.
Yeah.
Well,
and you don't really get that sense.
If they were going to add stuff, like stuff that was going on with Selena and her job, they could have left that out. They should have added more scenes. Like, this is how I would have told it if I were going to add and change stuff. Mm-hmm. Is they should have added at least a scene where you understand why people loved her husband. Where, like, okay, he's got this secret, he's an asshole to her, and like when that stuff pops up, it's really bad. But that he has this facade that he puts on in front of his friends, in front of his... clerk, you know, the people at church or whatever. He has this sort of thing where you go, people like, and then you understand why people don't like her.
Yes.
Because you go, he was so fucking awesome. He was, you know, he taught my kid how to ride a bike or some shit. You know, where there would have been some kind of thing where you go, I understand why the community likes him, but then there's this hidden thing. Again, that eclipse idea. They should have really leaned into that, I think.
Yeah, because it was interesting when, like, she makes fun of him about his pants in the movie. And he's super playful with her, and you think like, oh, look at him being silly, and he you know moons her.
He wiggles his ass in front of her. Yeah,
and you're like, man, that guy's funny. Like that's cool. That's
like
a
nowhere. It's just like
dude. I'm not gonna lie, that freaked me out.
Yeah,
dude.
Is that normal behavior though in small town America?
I'm sure, man.
Well, is it acceptable in small town America? That's the thing.
I think it is. I think
because where do those women go aside from doing what Dolores did, finding a weird trap to have your husband fall through a well hole and play that game,
or just finding
you know.
I don't recommend that husbands watch this with their wives because they will learn a lot from this film.
So I was thinking about how when things happen to people when they grow up in an environment where they're being like abused or whatever, how they grow up being like apologizing. You meet somebody who's like an adult and they like apologize all the time, or they're unsure of ever giving their opinion, and sometimes that makes me think of stuff like this where, you know, they grew up in a household where like. Doing that earned him a SWAT.
Dang. You speak up, you're going to get your mouth shut, you know? Quick.
Yeah.
Dang.
I was never, like, hurt for this, but I remember growing up in my mom's house, like, because we stayed with them, for part of my upbringing at least, and we slept upstairs, and I remember always being told to be quiet because when we would run around and play up there, and again, I wasn't abused. I'm not saying that in this way, but it's just like I realize now that I kind of walk quietly. I don't make a lot of noise when I'm around people. I'm always like accidentally sneaking up on people, and it's just because I'm not making noise when I walk. And a lot of it, I think, came from that, where it was like, stop making noise. Like, go to bed. It's not time to play. You should be doing your homework, whatever. And that's a very small thing that I think has been in me since I was a kid, where I don't really make a lot of noise when I walk.
So you can only imagine what...
Yeah, imagine if they were hurting me.
Whew.
Yeah, so like, and I've known people that will admit that, oh, well, I don't ever speak up because this is what happened. This is what happened when I did. So yeah, I mean, this is horror, but this is like,
this is
it's
almost like
it's like a mental thing, man. It's a mental horror thing.
Yeah.
Like Selena never spoke up at all, and she put herself in plausible deniable.
It's not plausible deniability or something.
Yeah, plausible deniability, because she didn't want to accept the fact that she was sexually abused and molested as a kid, until she had to look at the scenes all over again on the boat and the ferry that she was riding on. At least in the movie, that's how it was. I can't remember if it was like in the book.
It was the same too, yeah.
Yeah, it had to take her a minute to realize that she was like, "Oh my god, I'm looking at the same scenes." Oh, it's hitting me back.
Wait, no, does it happen in the movie, in the book?
No,
that doesn't happen in the book.
Her recollection of it, she didn't. That's not in the book.
She's in custody the whole time. There's not like this. There's not that scene in the book, right?
Well, I thought that
where
what
she
I thought
goes.
you were referring to was the fact that they're on the ferry.
Yeah.
And
she confronts her about, "Hey, has your dad been fucking with
that
you?"
was in the book.
That's in the book.
Right, but
the
her
later on when she's like remembering that's not in there.
That's not in there.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I don't remember it being in there.
No, I don't think it is.
I think it's more so implied that they, that she moved on with her life. And
right.
They don't make it seem like she's messed up in the book, but in the movie they really lean into that she's like.
That was
in the movie.
She's like, I know my limits.
She's jaded as can be.
Oh man,
about it. But again, she puts herself in plausible deniability about it because she's drugged up, but she doesn't know why she's drugged up until she sees it on the ferry again. Right?
Yeah, no, they definitely leaned into it a little bit more in the movie, where she realizes
like Dolores in the movie has to remind her. She's like, you don't remember?
Yeah.
I can't recall that in the book as much.
No, I don't think it's in there at all. I don't think there's the
book,
aspect of her not remembering.
Yeah, in the book, I think it's in her head the whole time.
But it makes sense because people block out trauma. So there is, again, I don't know how much research you did.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's arguably probably
that's
one of the scariest stories.
Is living in a state of denial, beneficial to you,
Yeah.
That's why I asked that question. Because people do that, man. They people block trauma out so they can, I don't know.
They can just that's
better.
their coping mechanism.
That's their coping mechanism. Exactly. That's their coping
just
mechanism.
Survive, and you kind of have to do that, or they feel they have to do that because they don't either have somebody to talk to or, it's scary because it's a real thing. I'm speaking from experience, and so this story is scary from far scarier than any monster, alien, whatever type film because it hits home.
It's
like crazy.
It's
In
different.
real life stuff is almost crazier than this.
With that being said, do you think they could do this movie in today's day of age?
In terms of talking about the PTSD?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it earlier. I mentioned Saltburn, this movie that had some really crazy stuff, and it seemed wild for wild's sake. So yeah, they could do a poignant movie about trauma and what it does to people. Yeah, sure. It's not that crazy. It's just because none of this was X-rated except that one thing happens, and they did it pretty tastefully. It wasn't
You think so?
I think from like a film perspective.
Well, yeah, it's supposed to make you. It's supposed to make you uncomfortable, but it wasn't like done.
It was. I mean, like
it wasn't done in like
it's a little cringe.
The feeling you got was a natural reaction.
Well, but that's the cool thing about film is you can cut to and you can let the audience's mind wander without actually showing exactly what is written or done. So you can do any awful thing in film so long as it's not shown or done in a way like. And you're let the audience's mind race. So I think any movie can honestly be done, and even in today's, like you said, social political climate, so long as it's done in a way that can let that audience's mind race, as opposed to letting your art let it race for them.
The ending would have to have Dolores not be like she'd have to be like a straight hero.
So.
Yeah,
they'd have to play it as she's for sure a hero. There wouldn't be any ambiguity as to whether or not was it okay or justified that she did it. They'd have to lean into she stood up for her kid who was getting abused.
No, with that
that's how they would do it.
So now kind of leaning more into like how Dolores, how it's not justifiable. So she shouldn't have killed Joe.
Oh,
which is crazy because in the beginning of the podcast I was like, oh hell no, as a parent, no, what she did is right. And now I'm kind of like, I don't know.
I think Dolores was completely justifiable in what she did. I don't think Dolores is an antagonist at all. I think Dolores is the protagonist throughout the whole thing.
Oh, for sure.
Well, yeah. That's,
yeah.
100%. Yeah. Even when she's asked, I forget if it's like this in the book, but definitely in the movie, it's the opening scene of the movie, when she's caught with the roller pin about to smash Vera's skull in.
Uh-huh.
I mean, Vera asked for it, so it's justified. So throughout the whole thing, I think Dolores she's A-okay, man.
Yeah, I wouldn't have a problem living in a society where she's free, but I do think
Me neither.
I do think that she did.
End result, yeah. End conclusion, I agree.
Yeah,
I don't disagree in a society where Dolores is a free human being and out and about and just doing everything.
From a society perspective, I think you kind of have to make an example of people though that do that, because where does the line end? If you let people just, I wouldn't want to live in a society actually where that was acceptable, because I know that humans are awful and they'd be like, oh, cool. I live in a society where it's okay to murder somebody.
It's just green light to do more weird shit.
Right. Then you're gonna get more people that are being like, "Oh, okay, maybe."
That's not how it works. If people want to,
she's already involved.
If people want to kill people, they're gonna just do it. If you have it in you to do it, you're gonna do it.
Right. But I know that there's other people here that.
If you're gonna be influenced by something that happens on the news, if they hear about some lady that went free because she did that, like that person's already shaky. It's not.
I feel like you're gonna open the floodgates for just because people are conniving in that way, that they need a reason to be like, you know what, awesome.
When people
you're right, there are people that are gonna be
violent movies or books or video games or something for why people commit crimes, and you go like, oh well, they were listening to gangster rap, so that's why they're acting like this or whatever, and they blame certain things. Do you know why Charles Manson did what he did?
Yeah, because of a Beatles song.
Yeah. So you never know why a crazy person's gonna act the way they act. So
true, but
if something happens in the news and someone gets inspired by that, like there's people that go and shoot up schools and they base it off of the Columbine kids.
Right, but
those kids are screwed up already.
That's already a thing, right? But imagine you add this to it, and where are all the people who are trying to fall in line? And now they see that,
if you're the type of person that's going to be swayed by a news story, you're fucked already.
But that would be huge, because that's not how it works currently. That's never happened.
What? That someone's been influenced by something that's happened in the news?
No, that we don't live in a society where you can get away with murder.
Yeah, we do. There's plenty of people that kill people and get away with it.
Right, but not in a way that with the judicial system. Where it was confirmed, oh, you did kill this person. We know about it. You confessed to it. Here are the reasons why. Are you talking about specifically American society or? Yes.
Okay.
So there's never been a case where they was like, yes, they confirmed
I don't.
murder.
I wouldn't say there's never been a case because I guarantee you, dude. I'll scroll right now all the people that got let go after saying they killed someone. It's still going. There's probably a lot.
Yes, and maybe you're right. Maybe that because how flawed the judicial system is, that it's already happening right now, where people feel like, oh, cool, people can't get away with murder. I want to do it too.
I don't know. It's a hard one to. It's a hard one.
It's a hard one to adjust.
Because if somebody did something to your daughter and you killed them, I would not want you to be punished.
I wouldn't either. Yeah, no, I get it.
You know, and that.
But I definitely.
And what that should say is not that the judicial system is broken and that it let you out. It should be don't fucking harm kids. That's the lesson you're supposed to walk away from it with.
Right. So imagine if I did.
I think we're pretty close to the end, by the way.
Yeah.
I feel like we're like.
I feel like we're done.
Yeah, we're pretty much done.
Yeah.
I think we can. Unless you want to take this.
No, fuck you. You take it. You take it.
No, dude, say it.
That was actually my last question. I had all the points I wanted to hit. Could this movie be made? Could this movie be made in today's political and social climate? I think we answered that.
Yeah, we talked about that.
So.
No, I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to cut you off. I was more so saying let's make this the last point that's made for the video is what I was saying. Finish up with your please. I gotta edit it to where none of that happened and you finish your
No, I don't
point.
want you to edit this at all because I think it's super funny.
It's not funny.
It is.
Finish up what you were saying, please.
No, it's okay. All I was gonna say is, if we lived in a world,
was that a good podcast? I feel like that was a good podcast.
Now are you fucking with him?
You're fucking with me now.
I'm a little drunk. I'm pretty stoned. I'm pretty drunk. So I'm like over. This is the first time I've been on here, so I want to make sure I did good.
We're doing fine.
Dude, we did great.
Everything's fine.
No,
but he is trying to get his last point. We're gonna shut the podcast down.
Yeah, let's shut it down.
No, we're gonna shut it down. But I want you to say your thing, and then we'll wave out.
We did good.
Honestly,
we did great.
Honestly, I don't even remember.
Is that why? That's
I'm
so
so
song
sorry,
and
man. I'm
dance.
so sorry.
No, it's all good.
For what?
I feel like I interrupted you.
Bro, you did, but it was the best thing ever. Because that's what this is all about.
That's
man.
what this is all about.
That's what this is all about. You know, so on that note, thank you guys for watching. Go check out Dolores Claiborne. Read the book.
Listen to the audiobook.
Yes.
The audiobook is phenomenal. The audiobook definitely does it justice on the book.
Absolutely.
But you know what?
Watch the movie. Give it credit.
We probably spoiled all this for you, but there's some rough stuff in here.
It's a rough, yeah.
If you don't know what a tritone is, listen to Black Sabbath.
There you go.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. Black Sabbath. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.